on Consulate for today. No Consulate matches today, but a lot yesterday, so it feels good to get back into something that we're somewhat familiarized with. Disrupt gonna ban out Nomad right off rip. That's expected when it comes to Consulate, but how does DarkZero want to play around these offensive bans? The really big question is they sometimes have some pretty awkward ones, but not this time around. Thatcher gonna be removed.
Yep, keeping us right along with the meta there is Thatcher's going to end up getting knocked out. Nomad being a pretty consistent ban, as I believe she was also banned out in one of the two matches that both DarkZero and Disrupt played on this map yesterday as well. So that'll carry over pretty consistently from the previous play day. Heading into our defender bans, things are going to be a lot more of the same here. Valkyrie getting banned out as she's been a pretty consistent ban. Stokes was mentioning she's tied for top 3 among 2 other operators right now, and I believe we might be getting one of those two. Actually, wow, been a while since I've seen that ban. Isn't that right, Stokes?
Yeah, it's been quite some time, but I think that we have the insight for this one, John. I think we do. We saw DarkZero play Echo inside of their Consulate lineups yesterday, and I mean, we could be seeing Disrupt just not really wanting to grant them access to that character. I don't think that Echo had an insane impact on what happened yesterday, but I mean, the thing is that if he is inside of the lineup, he has the ability to. If he's able to make it past, you know, the offensive, defensive utility per se, right? Then he can practically win out an entire round. Actually, thinking about it again, I think DarkZero actually did end up winning a singular round yesterday with the Yokai drone. So we casted 2 Consulate maps yesterday, so I'm trying to go through the memory process right now. But either way, really strong ban by Disrupt, and I like it. I think it's pretty good coming into the the grand scheme of things. Like, obviously there's stuff that's better, but if you're gonna get rid of Echo away from DarkZero, I mean, come on.
It was specifically useful in this site in Garage because you could not only hide the yokais on the ceiling itself, doesn't have cloning anymore for those who haven't watched Siege in a while. That was taken away recently. But I also was noticing that they were hiding the yokais occasionally, like under the white van or the other car that's sitting in the garage as well, and they were trying to play around with that, and that seemed to be working pretty effectively for DZ also. So might also lend credence to why we're seeing it get banned, just to ease the access specifically for basement attacks. But there's definitely a couple other sites where you could get away with Echo on this map too if you really want to stretch the definition of where you can play him. But either way, going into our initial real round now, we've got DarkZero spawned out on the table, looking to make their first attack against the basement hold from Disrupt.
Yeah, and some cool stuff coming into the lineup for DarkZero as well. We'll have Skies on the most notable buck play for him, and Eclipse bringing in Sam Fisher. Character that is starting to work his way into the mix more and more often, given his recent buffs, with the Gone 6 coming in as a secondary, as well as secondary hard breach if he wants to take that. This time around, Eclipse will be rocking the Claymore, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Obviously, on a map like this, there's a lot of hop-outs, and he can help in that fight. As for everything else, though, he's got some pretty cool cams that are now noted as the Sam cams that you can put up anywhere. They go through reinforcements and everything else in between. Pretty cool stuff when it comes down to an information setup for a map. DarkZero, pretty strong start so far, able to clear out the top floor, but now they have to worry about this mid-level pressure, but that's not going to stick around too long either.
Mark still causing problems from inside of Piano here, getting scared a little bit earlier, of course, because of the opening that was being made by the enemy's buck working its way into the upstairs bathroom. But obviously he's able to avoid getting spotted from that encounter and then circumnavigate his way down into Piano, where we're also going to have other players from Disrupt looking to cause some trouble here against the overall push from DarkZero, which is still heavily focused on clearing out the second floor. An attempt to time out a Nitro Cell, not going to lead to a whole lot here for Mark, but he will get the clutch little fadeaway drop down there as the teammate's just going to quickly shotgun out the panel and allow him to retreat one more floor further down into the actual site hold in the basement.
That was quite scary there for 2 seconds, as I thought Skies was just going to shoot Ash right in the face, but Hyper's still alive, so we're good to go. All right. Well, DarkZero, they've worked through most of Consulate, some very annoying aspects, which is the first and second floor clears. So they've gotten everybody down into the basement now, and it's simply keeping DG locked downstairs via the staircases and starting to apply pressure like this. These nice angles coming through from Piano. There's just too many to be able to stay inside of Garage as a defender, unless you have some other means to be able to contest back. But obviously, Disrupt not going to have that. They're going to have to lean on the utility here to keep DarkZero away from a plant.
Hyper quickly moving into position just to deal with that Evil Eye sitting down below. I don't believe he has himself another breaching charge, and indeed, unfortunately, he does not. So not going to be able to deal with that second Banshee's still sitting down on the ground. That'll have to be dealt with either by NJR or another player. Thankfully, NJR is up to the challenge. Skies as well will find the first actual kill here. Once again, another game where our first round, pretty much nobody dying until the final 30 seconds of the round itself. Disrupt wanting to play this very, very close to the chest and hoping that they can overwhelm DarkZero in a flustered attack that they're now going to attempt to do here with 10 seconds left. Will it be truly flustered, though? That's the question as they work their way in. 2 quick pickups against the garage attack there from Disrupt. It's all going to go their way here, and there's just no time left for NJR and Skies. No control over the case as well. So Disrupt take a solid hold on the first round and the points that come along with it.
That was such a perfect setup from DarkZero, and it just did not go their way. It was simply a singular angle that messed up all of that for them. They were able to clear out the first 2 levels, but once they actually go for the execute onto the site, the Banshee on top of the black car was just too good at its job. Really hindered DarkZero from moving over to the white van where they would have been a lot safer, and instead they got tagged up by the crossfire from security. And not only did it down Mint, who had the case, but it also got hyper down to 1 HP. I don't believe that he was allowed to reapproach either because the toxic smoke was there. So it was just, you know, doom and gloom for DZ on that execute. They got to be kicking themselves after that one. I mean, that's simply like a smoke put down or just a crossfire being held back to try and get that plant down. But I'm sure that they're going to right this ship inside of these next few rounds. Good stuff from Disrupt, though, to play it down to the timer.
DZ, in the meanwhile, are going to upgrade their intel game a little bit with the operator select working their way into round number 2 here, as we saw multiple members of Disrupt try to cause problems, not do a whole lot, to be fair, in the early round against DZ, but ultimately escape scot-free down the hatches back down to the basement. So we're going to bring Zero back into the fold once again here. Those Argus cams going to be very good at trying to spot those players out. And while we had in the previous round, hopefully we'll get a better setup here, since obviously it's going to be the split hold, and Disrupt, they're going to have to play themselves out a little bit more here, possibly expose themselves to the dangers of DarkZero in the process. But pretty standard hold here with the players working their way upstairs. J90 and Mark playing to the inside of the hold upstairs here, from what I could tell.
And I think it's going to get to be, you know, pretty difficult for Disrupt if that does come to fruition, because, you know, I don't think DarkZero is necessarily something you want to play with, given it, you know, literally meaning a black hole. So that's not necessarily something you kind of want to put your hands on or anything that you hold dear. Disrupt, though, now with this defense, looking quite solid upstairs. They fell back quite early on in their previous roam strat, so we'll see if that happens here once again. But this early game is simply going to be DarkZero vying for information as well as clearing out a lot of this utility. Able to get rid of one of the Mozzie pests early on here. Is DG actually have a forward position inside of security with a mirror setup? It'll be Retro manning this. Doesn't currently have any holes to be able to throw a nitro cell out or anything of the sort, but he does have a fellow with him. It's going to be Shuttle inside of Kitchen with that cardiac sensor, just trying to find any intel on where DarkZero are clearing from. And it is indeed going to be that full east to west clear, as they are mostly focusing on this top level.
Yeah, still control working their way towards admin, and even worse here, the initial player into the building, NJR, there on the Jackal, trying to hunt out some of this roam game, is going to get hunted himself. He goes down. So far, no response coming in from Hype or any other members of DarkZero, so we're going to stay in the 5v4 for some time here, as still 2 members upstairs will continue to cause problems and probably start to get a tad more aggressive now that they have the advantage. Holding for a moment, though, on the inside of Copier, since we are seeing more reinforcements work their way into console for DZ. 3 players now trying to push out the 2-man hold in admin here.
And it's delaying so much time right now. DarkZero not able to make anybody move. The stun grenades not really assisting the situation. They need some pressure from another angle. Skies is trying to help on the window rappel right now, but he's instead getting contested, while the rest of DarkZero simply wait at the door. Hyper does have 1 player inside of Printer. That's going to be J9, and he's dealt with accordingly. Now it's down to a singular member, but Mark dispatched just as quickly as his teammate. DarkZero with the top control now, but Disruptive already done what they set out to do, and that's delay time. Down to the last 40 seconds. DarkZero have to try and find an opportunity to get this case down inside of Tellers.
Quick adjustment indeed in order to get themselves those 2 kills in such quick fashion when they finally executed towards it. But as Stokes mentioned, the damage is already done. They're coming down to 30 seconds here. They don't have great intel on what the basement setup looks like here, because they've had no time to put pressure onto it, let alone what could possibly be lurking when they try to go for their initial plant attempts. We're going to see Iconic, it looks like, rotate back up towards the top as well through Spiral to be able to cause problems in the event this plant actually goes off and they need to retake here. He'll delay that a little bit here because the first plant attempt actually hasn't even come in yet. But in the meantime, okay, Eclipse just coming in and fragging his way through the entire Disrupt roster. Retro, the only one left. Almost a very nice flick onto Eclipse. But once again, Eclipse gets better of one of the members of Disrupt in a 1v1. So he's going to pick up a triple on this round and overall a fast closeout to find the exchange and tie us up at 1-1.
Very well done from DarkZero with the identification of the situation. They knew what Disrupt's plans were, especially after that delay. Not very much time for them, and they didn't want to risk trading out bodies with nitro cells to get that case down. So instead, they simply flood down admin stairs, and that was definitely the play. Eclipse goes huge with a triple kill. DarkZero walk away with that round. That round, pretty simply put, I mean, the delay upstairs from Disrupt was very well done. They really didn't contest anything too heavily, but that was truly about it. After that, it was just the DZ show. And it's going to continue to be that as we have a 6 pick on there. And yet again, this lineup continuing to evolve as these rounds continue on. Sky's 6 picking away from the Buck onto the IQ.
IQ could be an interesting way to attempt to counter out Shuttle on the Pulse right now, since we are going to see him play this out a little bit closer to the actual sites. Could be a good capability to find a player that's going to be on is going to be on a gadget pretty actively if he's playing himself to the full extent of that, giving an opportunity for DarkZero to get intel earlier on and possibly a kill should the stars align or the panels align, I guess you could say, since it's soft destruction that would need to be lined up for them to be able to pick that kill. Either way, aside from that, DarkZero looking to continue their rampage here after getting a nice traded round there. And in the meantime, Disrupt will not favor going for the reattempt on the split site. Instead, they're going to work down here on the first floor.
Well, this is the top hold that we were talking about yesterday with Mark playing inside a projector with J9 inside a connector. And this is what we were talking about with usually seeing a Wamai here in this position. But this actually worked really, really well for Disrupt yesterday, even given J9 not having a shield for the cross. Mark was actually able to play out his life quite a few times and delay some time as well. But Oxygen caught onto it quite early on and were able to dispatch his ADSs with frag grenades. But that doesn't even seem to be the play right now as DarkZero simply forced their hand. They're in from yellow. This is a very traditional rush, and it's working out so well for them right now. Skies with the G8, also showing some people their fate as J9's taken down. Well, at least taking down NJR. It's a DarkZero show as he's the only one that's been killed. Finally, Eclipse is picked up as well, but that's also going to be case controlled down inside a piano with Disrupt lingering above them. Also a player inside a Z.
It's the revenge from upstairs as Disrupt pile down upon the DarkZero take. They're initially looking very successful, but their lack of a clear on the second floor comes back to haunt them there, similarly to how Beast Coast had issues with this when they attempted something similar yesterday against the Disrupt hold here. So DarkZero trying to ignore that presence, but now losing case control inside of the site is going to turn this round into a very, very awkward affair for the remaining minute and a half and the 3v3 that will ensue from it. Even worse here for DarkZero is the fact that Disrupt are very well aware of the fact that the case is down on the ground, so much so that they have multiple people holding angles against it. So any attempt from DZ to regain control over the site, let alone the case, is more than likely going to have to come with a 1 gunfight, or maybe 2 as well here. J90 going to be challenged. They are able to surprisingly retrieve the diffuser at the end of the day, though. Just grab it. Skies as well, the player to get it. The lowest by far on his team right now. Picks that up and runs. Was going to try to go for a planet lobby, but seems not too convinced that's the smartest play due to the active aggression still being thrown at them by the defenders here.
Oh, this is going to be a very difficult plant for DarkZero. As you said, Sky's minimal HP, and he does have the case control as well. Haven't attempted anything just yet, as Disruptive made a very nice adjustment with their pulse player. Shuttle, instead of staying down low where Skies would be looking for him, goes upstairs. That cardiac sensor still works both ways. You can look down through the floor and see what the plant's into that. Sky starts that up as well. Disrupt need to stop this, but they don't have the crossfire. Actually, no. Shuttle pops a nitro up top. He takes down Skies. The case, all of a sudden, back in the defensive control. It's Hyper who has to be called to arms to try and shut this down. He's able to find one, but how much is he actually going to be able to do? With only 15 seconds remaining, this guy's in a 1 versus 2 with such minimal HP. A breath could knock him over, and he still needs to plant as well. He's going to try and slap this down by the front door, it seems, but now he's getting hot marked as Shuttle takes him down through the floorboards. Disrupt looking so strong from this defensive standpoint right now.
DarkZero paying no respect yet again to the upstairs hold from Disrupt. As I mentioned earlier on in that round, a strategy that Beast Coast also tried to utilize yesterday. And initially, things were looking promising from DarkZero. That's until The upstairs roam decided to jump into the fight there, where they pretty quickly tore apart the control that DarkZero had managed to get into that point, forcing the majority of their players into the bathroom, the only real safe haven they had to play from. And unfortunately, the attempts to battle out from there, gain back case control, and actually get a plant onto the ground were unsuccessful because of the continued pressure coming from that top floor.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing when that happens to you. I mean, DarkZero, all in all, the attempts were fantastic. I think that was the only box left unchecked when it came down to that plan, was what happens with the piano hatch. And it was being manned by Disrupt there, and that's really what that got them into a lot of trouble. It wasn't some off angle or anything like that. They had already cleared out the main bathroom inside of the first level, and they had the control. They just didn't have the verticality covered, and that's where they ended up running into a lot of problems. Disrupt get away with that one after they weren't able to stop the rush from DarkZero, but they find a way through it. I think that right there shows the resiliency of this squad.
Definitely the case here. Disrupt looking to make impact yet again here. And after a bumpy start to the season, they are looking strong here in our third week of play, our fourth play day as well. Finally rebounding here. Iconic having himself a great game yesterday. Also, not able to fire off in an amazing fashion yet inside of this matchup, but thankfully Shuttle and the rest of the team have been doing fantastic work to control the 2 rounds they already have in their pocket. They'll look for a third here on this round and see if they can once again net results against the DZ roster, who is now working their way in and back to usual business here as they work their way towards admin relatively quickly for that top clear.
Well, with the older version of Disrupt, we did see it often, well, more often than not, that a lot of the successes ran through Shuttle. If Shuttle was having a great game, Disrupt was having a fantastic game, and they would more than likely win. But as of today, it seems like he's able to still reproduce that. I mean, we saw his previous consulate match go extremely, extremely well, but what hasn't been going too well for Disrupt is some of these early picks as Mark gets taken down 1-0-4 right now, just not having the game he truly wants to have. And that's going to be the early pick that DZ needs to move in on the top floor.
Minute gone from the round. Mark obviously taken out of the picture here. And Disrupt would be playing this incredibly passively now because of the lost player. Can't really afford to take aggressive duels. I've explained this many times before, but just too much of a risk in most situations here for a team that's already behind to try and take another 1v1 where they can't guarantee a trade. Potentially put you down even further into a 3v5. It just statistically usually doesn't end up panning out in your favor. But either way, still some players on the map here from Disrupt that we know can cause problems in the mid-round, and more importantly, we know can turn this game around with the right play. That could be coming from one of them very, very soon. We do have a player close to contact at yellow, but looks like we are not going to see much transpire from that. Disrupt, despite falling back as well, still having to play relatively spread out in some respects. That can leave a couple more of their players relatively vulnerable. It was Retro, I should say, by the way, that was trying to make the play towards yellow a couple of seconds ago, but unfortunately has not been able to line up for much. They're not getting anything out of the DarkZero camp on the other side. Since they have all of this extra time, the top tier going so quickly into their favor, they're going to use it a solid minute or two here to really set up their execute before being forced to commit to it over the next 20 seconds or so.
And they now have the street sweepers out. Got to clean all of this utility up so they can actually get into sight in a more convenient way. As of right now, with all that utility there, it's definitely not going to work into their favor. So might as well throw that in the garbage. But now that we're down to 30 seconds, both of these squads ready and waiting for the first shots to pop off. And finally, here they come as Hyper gets the frag inside of security. All the toxic smokes out, but able to find some space. Banshee making things complicated, though, as Hyper continues to take damage. Mint is not going to take nearly as much, if not any at all. And he's already halfway through a plant as well. But that seemingly does not matter, as DarkZero are simply getting all the frags. Finally, a shotgun frag comes through for J9, but Hyper immediately dashes into kitchen to get the refrag. DarkZero all over this garage attack.
Very, very well played out there from DarkZero. Like I'd said in the mid-round, that top clear, the early frag against Mark was a massive boon for them, as Disrupt didn't try to play aggressively against them at all from that point forward. So they had just a completely free 2 minutes or so within the round as they got that kill relatively quickly too, to figure out every single little piece of information about what Disrupt's setup was down in the basement. So when they finally committed, although again, it was low time, this is what we expect in Siege. So having all that time to gather the info made it that much easier to move into the site and execute the setup from Disrupt in such a clean fashion as we just saw them do there at the end. Disrupt, though, think they've got it, though, so they're going to go right back to that same site and make an attempt at that.
I mean, even though, you know, it was so cleanly done, I just want to notate the changes and how DarkZero handled that. And it's just simply one that, in the grand scheme of things, it's quite large, but it's very simple. And that was Hyper actually being at the garage to assist them on getting in. And he pre-fired the exact angle that they got tagged up from the last time. Granted, he was there the previous time, but they weren't concerned about what Disrupt was going to be doing from security. And this time, they're able to get a frag and get in because of that. So it's those little things where they're able to realize where Disrupt are playing around, and they are able to pick up these frags. So really, really good stuff there from DarkZero, but particularly Hyper. We are going to have some change-ups on the offense, not necessarily inside of the lineup, but inside of some of the secondary utility. Eclipse taking that secondary hard breach now.
All right. Mark lined up, trying to go for a nice little window peek here again. A bit dangerous considering how the last round went, but still got to try something here to get yourself ahead in the round. Not going to be able to be too successful upon that venture, though, as Eclipse will make his way past it without really being spotted whatsoever. But still going to be some problems here that DarkZero will have to deal with when it comes to the yellow hold. Retro, most notably, going to be sticking around here, playing this out, and more importantly, trying to delay that top clear. That while Disrupt had a solid hold in the earlier rounds, DarkZero, at least going off the last round and the ones before it, haven't had too much of an issue in trying to clear that out and transitioning them to the next phase of the round itself here. Once again, admin control going their way, completely uncontested. Where we'll actually start to see the fights happen is over on the console side of the map here, if they should decide to push into it. Players like Retro they're going to have to deal with, and as far as I can tell, only Retro. No one else on Disrupt really wants to be a part of this right now.
Yeah, kind of a peculiar setup when it comes to the top floor. They had a single panel for projector, but nobody playing it up top. I don't know if Mark was supposed to be up there initially and just dropped the hatch or necessarily what happened, but Disrupt are going to immediately evacuate the top floor. They don't want any of the smoke that DarkZero is currently attempting to provide, but they've actually scampered off all the way to the basement, which is going to allow DarkZero to set up all of their SAM cams, all of this utility to make it to where these rotations are impossible for the defense. It seems like we're back in the exact same manner that we had this previous round. Will it happen the same way? Now that's the big question. We've continued to see plants from DarkZero attempted on White Van, and they really haven't had any utility they've been utilizing to break up the line of sights, although Mint has been carrying smokes. I want to see if they try and apply that and attempt to plant somewhere else this time around.
Well, DarkZero with pretty much full map control save for the basement here. So once again, they're going to have quite a bit of time to line up the intel. Definitely not as clear as they were in the previous round here, but should be more than enough to justify the site execute, especially when you consider that it's the same defense we just saw previously for the most part coming out from Disrupt here. So not too much changing in the overall hold department here, and for the most part, just re-executing on a lot of the same notes they hit before. But what a timing play right there from Retro. Beautifully done. Decimates NJR with a pre-placed Nitro cell, brings us into a 5v4 favoring Disrupt, and seems we're going to go even further than that. Retro holding the hatch right by Lobby down in the basement, takes out a second player now.
Well, we need a plant here from DarkZero, but I don't even know if they'll get in the door. Sky's still manning the vertical play as Hyper is on yellow, sending every ounce of that R4C the defensive direction, but it's just not happening. Mint's going to go for the smoke plant now as he moves forward onto the bomb chassis, but he goes too far, and there's a Pipes player waiting with open arms. Shuttle cleans at the last frag as well, and Disrupt win this garage defense. Some really strong stuff from this defensive position, just not giving up a single inch when it came to that garage space.
So the reattempt from Disrupt is successful. A great rebound onto the defense for them, and a much heavier focus on the actual site defense itself turns out to be the correct strategy there. DarkZero unable to make their way past it, and really unable to even get an entry going for themselves, which is a massive comparison to the round before that, where they just walked their way through the defensive setup for the most part. So big change up there and a big win for Disrupt to give them their third round overall. We're going to head into the final round of the half, and they'll try the split site one more time here to see if they can net themselves a fourth.
Well, it seems like they're concerned about a possible roam game when it comes to this next site, and they dang well should be, because there's a lot of that going on, more than likely, especially with the Vigil in play. Disrupt could possibly have some roam set up upstairs. We'll see if they try and support it in any manner. That's what I was going to try to say there, but That was definitely not what happened. Either way, I want to see where they try and set up these mirror windows and exactly how far they're going to go on this top floor. I don't believe we've seen Disrupt apply mirrors this far back just yet. This might be one inside the books. We just haven't seen on their console just yet, so excited for this. DarkZero, though, they're going to 6-pick on over to the Jackal for NJR. Now, it's a really, really solid pick, although Disrupt haven't been, really roaming throughout this series just yet. They've had a couple of people out and about, but no real contact, all except for the singular round where they actually held down things inside of admin. And on top of that, NJR hasn't been having the greatest game yet again today. For DarkZero, it does kind of suck, just because we haven't seen NJR find the most amount of success with this squad that we've been really hoping for.
So mirror windows aren't going to end up being too crazy with where they're set up here, as we will just have that forward security position that we saw in a previous round, as well as the normal one that you guys saw getting set up there, just underneath the staircase on that bit of a wraparound to work your way into the server room. So should be pretty much expected there from DZ. And speaking of DZ, we've already got them working their way into the building. Once again, admin control, easy, pretty much for free here. No resistance coming in for the Disrupt camp, but we do have it further back, and that's exactly what at least one member in the DarkZero camp is trying to line up for here right now.
Well, slow beginnings inside of this first minute, but that's to be expected here, as the drones are still spinning around, trying to find some information. NJR and Hyper currently in on the CEO side of the building, working from that top yellow area. We'll see if they're able to apply some pressure to these top players of Disrupt, but it should be a minute here, as Skies still wants to get onto the windows, actually provide a cross for these members as they clear things out. And for DarkZero, it's going to be this full top end clear as they start to work their way down long desk.
Correct myself from earlier. It's actually the console take for DarkZero that goes their way for free on this round, which is a bit of a flip from what we've usually been having. Disrupt actually actively defending the other half of it this time around here. So Mark will probably be first up to bat if they try to contest in a copier here, and he's got the gun for it as well. A short angle, a short shot with the shotty here. Only one shot per player is all that's needed. Maybe a 2-for-1 as well, as they're going to try to aggressively swing him. There's the first shutdown. Takes a bit of damage on the follow-up, but iconic, beautiful support from down below as he gets the nitro cell off onto NJR.
You just gotta be mad. You just gotta be mad if you're NJR. It's just not, no matter what you do, you can't get away with it. And it's just gonna keep happening to DZ. Disrupt, simply better inside of these engagements. Finally, something goes back into the DarkZero court, but I don't know how much it's going to amount to. Eclipse able to finally pick up something, but it's kind of split among 3 players right now that are actually finding success. Hyper's dead. It's down to Skies and Eclipse inside of this 2v4, but very minimal time to make this work.
Eclipse heavily injured as well, down to only about 25 HP. He's going to work his way down in the basement. Might actually get himself an angle against, I think this is the mirror on the other side of the situation. Never mind, it's iconic. Now falling back to the depths of that mirror window itself. They won't be able to challenge that. Retro as well on the actual mirror. Will shut down Eclipse. Traded out by Skies, but very quickly retraded by Shuttle. Still holding on the inside of that little mini library there. Disrupt will clean it up, or excuse me, the stock. Disrupt will clean it up, take one more round, and set up a 4-2 overall scoreline for the half, as the teams will now switch sides.
Extremely solid defenses from Disrupt. I mean, Consulate is a map that really differentiates as to what side is winning depending on the teams. I mean, yesterday we saw a lot of offensive wins coming in, but today it seems to be more defensively inclined, at least inside of this series. We'll see if that stays or if Disrupt are simply just that much better so far here on Consulate. For DarkZero, it's just not enough manpower. Like I was notating on earlier, we currently have 2 people with 0 frags on the team. And now I know this is Rainbow Six Siege, folks, and we talk about this all the time, how people have roles and certain people shouldn't have to have that many kills and stuff like that. But when it comes down to something like this, where inside of a half you're not able to get a singular frag for 2 people, that is really, really rough, because that is a lot of influence that your team is just not having over those rounds, where if even one of them was able to find a frag, you could have just had another round naturally. So for DZ, you got to be kicking yourself over that one, but now it's to the defensive side, so not too much time to think about that. There's winning to be done.
Couple more rounds, we'll have ourselves a 3rd agent at MI6 here at the Rainbow Six Pro
Possibly
League.
a 4th.
No, NJR doesn't count. He's got an assist. So,
oh, yes.
He's out of the running already. But for Mint, that possibility is alive and well. So hold on, folks, because we still got a bit of a ride here. But either way, moving into the second half, the sides have switched, obviously. DarkZero jumping onto the defense, and they're immediately going to work their way into a lobby hole, interestingly enough. We'll also have a lot of presence upstairs, as you generally might expect for this. The presence from Disrupt when they held this same exact site was more than enough. What's up?
What is this? Okay.
From Mint?
Yeah, it's just a very awkward spot because of the window, but like, I get it. You have to repel to get there. I was just talking to myself. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So that's going to be a little bit of a weird one there. As Disrupt will more likely try to clear that out. If they try to clear that, I should say, from console side, they'll have to deal with that reinforced shield and the awkward capability to clear that out that comes with that. Someone having to repel down, repel back up the side window, and then knocking that out, whether it was going to be Mark or someone else to do that. Hopefully, won't even be needed because the players that can do it are very far away from the positions they need to be in order to accomplish that. So we'll check back in on that later on in the round. Is Disrupt still looking to gather their control in this first minute? Timer ticking down here, but no real progress being made by Disrupt and getting map control just as yet. Not to worry, though, as we're still only a minute into it, and they seem to be focusing pretty heavily on the drone game as we take a look at quite a few of their players still on drones at this point in the round.
Disrupt seemingly setting up for a piano push of their own. Some good intel coming in from these drones, but it's difficult to find right now with these mute jammers around from Eclipse. No real forward position just yet from Disrupt as they continue to try and get an insight as to what's going on. Deployable shield gets destroyed inside a connector upstairs, so Mint's not going to have nearly as much cover if he does peek into console, but DZ have actually done a very good job of slowing down DG here, as they're simply still outside waiting to see if any DarkZero member will try and force anything. And I can tell you right now, more than likely not going to happen. They want Disrupt to try and get into the building. This is where lobby is very, very difficult to attack. If you're not able to get these picks, a lot of these members are going to be congested on site. And when it comes to those gunfights, it usually ends up going into the defensive favor simply because of those manpower situations.
NJR continuing to wait for his capability to jump into this. Disrupt have kept themselves so quiet throughout the course of this round, save for a bit of utility being used to drain out DarkZero's own defensive setup closer to the site. This is going to be just an all-in Hail Mary from Disrupt, as far as I can tell. They literally will not have time to make a second attempt at whatever they are doing. So this is all emphasized right here. No second tries, no re-engagements. They're going for it all at once, and it starts out well, too. Retro finding that opening pick onto Hyper. No trade working its way back in just as of yet. NJR will get in position at console here. He needs to stop that repel swing, and another one from J9O. Sky's the first to respond. He's trying to hold the inside of the kitchen, but no, can't get it done. Eclipse did pick up another exchange in the process, as did NJR up on top. 2 seconds left to get the plant on the ground. J9O with a big kill, but there's another player on the inside of Bathroom. Iconic stuck on the plant right now, and all Eclipse has to do is tap him to shut it down. He gets it done. DarkZero take the round, as well as the lead to start out in the second half.
Well, there's one thing you can say about Disrupt, and it's they are definitely not scared. Although that round was very slow moving, no real insight to make the execute go well, they still sent it, and they almost got it. And I think that that's the most scary aspect about that, is DG really didn't know the positioning of DZ, yet they still had a very good chance of taking that one. So good play there from Eclipse, not only be able to stay alive, but keep the position of the Bathroom under control, because that's truly what won them the round right there. If that goes into the favor of DG, they more than likely don't get away with that, because there's just simply no safe place for Eclipse to try and take an engagement. I mean, a long distance gunfight from, the lobby is doable, but, first things first, you have the SMG-11. Those long distance gunfights aren't extremely favorable for you, and you're going up against rifles in a scenario like that. So it's just one of those things where that positioning saved him so well inside of those last 9 seconds. But now on to round 8. We're headed towards a split defense once again. Still no top floor for either one of these guys, even though we saw one yesterday.
Ultimately, for Disrupt here, very risky strategy going into that round there, considering they spent literally the entire round clearing out utility as well as just gathering intel from their drones. Not a single contact taken against DarkZero here up until that final execute in the 20 seconds. And like I said, just a massive risk being done when you consider the all-in nature of their play there. So we'll have to see if they try to adapt beyond that or stick with it for future rounds. As to be fair, they made it very, very close, even with the low time they had to try and get control of the overall site. Taking a look here at the early round, we do have Hyper pretty much ready to go here if someone tries to rappel up to his window, but not so confident in it anymore after a cross works its way in over his head from Bathroom. So he'll choose safety instead. We'll fall back to the inside of Projector, where he also has Eclipse hanging out as well.
Disrupt, at least as of right now, operating a touch faster than what we saw previously, but I'm assuming that's about to slow down as the drone is taken away from Hyper. So gonna have some intel now for the defense to work around with. As for Disrupt, though, still early goings right now for them as drones continue to just go around the building. I mean, that's the thing about these early games, especially here for Consulate. This is just how it's going to go. We're going to have the top clear. DarkZero wanting to stay alive, so we're just not going to have any true engagements. Really, the only opportunity for an engagement that Disrupt will have right now is NJR all the way over inside of admin office, and I don't even think that they know that he exists yet at this point. He is going to have some assistance, though, from Eclipse on admin stairs. He's got a mute jammer up top to stop any info from coming onto him, as well as that shotgun that could help if anybody tries to swing.
So half the round gone, and once again, similarly to the previous one, not a whole lot cooking here for either team. Obviously, DarkZero has no reason to panic about that since they're on defense, and that ultimately serves their objectives further, but that's going to change very, very quickly here. Now, J9O trying to hunt. There are other forces at play closer to the admin side of the map. Eclipse waiting down over here on the Visa stairs, trying to see if he can bait players into Projector and chuck in the Nitro Cell to make impact. At the same time, NJR looking for the lurk around as those players get baited towards it. They will be able to successfully take down Eclipse. Will it be the same for NJRs? He's now got to fight two different players, one close to his left, another going for the long angle. He'll try to beat the other player at the long angle to the punch, but no, the short angle beats him to it. Mark takes him down just barely as well. Only a sliver of HP remaining after that contact is taken. Skies will try to trade it out here by waiting at the bottom of Spiral and may just get it, but no! Mark again! Still at a tiny amount of HP. Surprises Skies. A second player suddenly in his vision as he takes him down. Mint similarly gonna get overwhelmed here as he tries to take a duel from the basement Visa stairs, and his last remaining teammate's not gonna be far behind. It's a flawless round from Disrupt and a major change up from what we just saw in the previous round.
Well, DG, yeah, like what you just said, explosive. I mean, I necessarily wasn't ready for that. I was kind of just doing my notes and waiting for some action to go on, and all of a sudden it's just kills across the entire board. Fantastic control upstairs there for DG, especially handling NJR in such clinical fashion. I mean, that is a guy that even given, you know, his scoreline today and, you know, not having the best of history with DarkZero so far, he's still an extremely scary player. So to be able to get him out of there, not losing a single person or anything of the sort, that's a huge deal for Disrupt's offense. And so far, this has looked really strong from them. Granted, that first round didn't go very well, but to back that up with a flawless on the split site, no less, that is definitely something to hang your hat on. Cafe Garage going to be the next defensive location for DarkZero. And honestly, I think it could definitely be a strong one, given Mint bringing that Mira.
DarkZero needed to call a very important time out there, but it's going to be expiring at any moment, so we should be getting back into the game at just a second. They sit at a 2-round deficit behind Disrupt currently, 3-5, and that's considering they won the initial round inside of this half as well, so they've done nothing to move the needle here in either ways. We're sitting at the same deficit we were at halftime now, moving from just 4-2 to 3-5. A basement hold coming up here for DZ as well, hoping for better results here as they've already had success in it. Disrupt looking to try and take this down to put themselves onto match point and get that much closer to taking down one of the titans of North America. We will see a quick little 6-pick there at the end as they'll bring Castle into play instead of the Maestro here to buffer their defense. No Sledge on the attack either, so definitely has worked in the 6-pick, as that's definitely going to bait out utility from the attackers.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have to see how that's gonna work out later into the round, but as of right now, it's setup time here for DarkZero as we get you guys through the preparation phase, and they've got some pretty cool stuff going on. They brought the Mira as well as some castle barricades from Eclipse. We'll see how they try and set that area up, but assuming that it's going to be a setup inside of the bathroom once again. We saw this one yesterday, I do believe. I want to say it was Beast Coast, though, with some Maruni gates as well on the castle barricade Eclipse is about to put up here, but besides that, this is going to be pretty rudimentary when it comes to the Mira setup. in this location. This is basically just made to delay as much time as possible, and eventually Mint will either attempt to escape down the hatch or just play out his life. It's whichever comes first. But as for Disrupt, this is going to be the area in which they need to gain control of. Antechamber and Piano are the heartbeat of this entire site.
Just finishing up the prep here real quick as he beats up a couple of those soft panels. More importantly, the retreat back down to the basement should the need arise for that. But we also have the extended play once again from DarkZero as well, even going all the way up to the second floor for NJR. A pretty passive second floor hold, though, with it just being this yellow stair position from what I can tell. So more than likely going to end up giving that up relatively quickly after taking an initial angle duel here that he already has set up for himself. In the meanwhile, we've got Iconic and I believe at least one other player from Disrupt moving in swiftly towards the second floor and beginning the process of clearing out the DZ hold.
With some aggressive angles being held right now from DarkZero, but it's not going to beg them much. They'll still keep the aggression on the mid floor, but DG mostly focused on that top take and clearing all of that area out. They are going to get a nice mark on Hyper, and that Jackal already paying off. That'll force him back down the staircase, so he won't be able to complete rotation or really any aggressive peek from that point. That's a really, really strong start for Disrupt, able to keep DarkZero downstairs as they continue to work this entire map. Retro now outside. He's going to blow the center panel on the garages. That's not something we see done too often. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily wrong, but we usually see that panel 1 and 3 taken out instead.
DarkZero will start to line up their last little rotates now that they know for sure the pressure is going to work its way in from the garage panels itself, as well as a couple other areas here too. Iconic running into the first little issue here with these castle barricades. That's going to eat up at least one of the breaching charges that he has left in his arsenal. Coming down to the wire here on the final minute of the round, though, Disrupt going to have to use a whole lot more than that to breach their way in. They're very much expected by the DZ roster, and similarly to the previous couple of rounds that we've been seeing get played out here, no impact in the early round. The roam game, unfortunately, not punished at all on the DZ side of things, but similarly, Disrupt also taking no damage from it as well. DarkZero just pulling those players back, and now they've got the 5-man setup inside of the site. Disrupt will have to try and tear it apart in these final 35 seconds.
Well, the shoe is on the other foot, as Disrupt is now the one outside the breach with the Toxic Babes pouring in on them. Mirror window with a nice cross as well, and it'll need to be so well done here from DarkZero to win out as the trades already ensue. It's a 4v4 as we get down to it. Nitro cells fly wide. Retro still sticking to this plant, but it's Disrupt most of the way. 4v2 now in their favor as all of a sudden it's down to Skies, but Disrupt just way too strong of an assertion over the site. Clean up every single DarkZero member, and they don't have a snowball's chance in hell on trying to get out of that one. That was some crazy stuff. He's talking the most about a mess right now.
I'd love to be like a fly in the team speak, so to speak, here for Disrupt, because I'd love to just hear the mic from Iconic like peaking like crazy as he yells that, and then it like slowly drifts away as the headset falls off. Like you just hear him go crazy, and then it slowly ends.
Do you remember the Allied Miner?
Yeah.
Do you remember the best hot mic of all time then?
I don't think I do.
Oh my dude, it's easily when he's like, yo, that guy sucks. Like,
oh wait, I think I do remember this finale.
It's so good, dude. It's my favorite Siege meme of all time. It has to be. It's because he literally points at the guy, dude. It's so good. It's so good. If you guys haven't seen it, you need to find it. It's probably the most iconic easily moment of all time. It's so good. But anyways, we have bigger fish to fry here. Easily. You said what?
I said rest in pepperoni easily.
Yeah, rest in pepperoni easily.
Went to Streamerville.
It's fine, man. I'm sure he'll still be around. Definitely one of the coolest guys when it comes to the Siege scene, though, and he's going to be sorely missed around tournaments and stuff like that once they come back. But I'm sure we'll see his face around and still doing stuff. He still streams all the time and stuff like that, so make sure you guys go over and give him a view. That guy is just awesome. Just an awesome dude. But anyways, back to the bigger fish to fry, John. We got some cooking to do in the kitchen, so why don't we get to it, shall we? 6-3 in favor of Disrupt. This round right here means a lot. You said what?
Are we in cafe?
No, but we're catching things,
gotcha.
I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It depends. I mean, are you more like a salmon guy? Or?
Let's just move on. We got to abandon this. We got to abandon this sideshow right now before it gets any worse.
Well, we were trying, but anyways, 30 seconds in already, and what we're trying to get to is this round right here is a really big deal to Disrupt. If they're able to actually win this, not only is that a 7-3 victory over one of the #1 teams right now inside of the NAL, but that's some really strong points for their position, and taking away all the points DarkZero had inside of this matchup if they were able to either get it to overtime or to actually win the dang thing. But they have to get to OT first, and that's going to take 3 perfect rounds in order to do so. Now, for Disrupt, they've already made their way into the map to a certain degree, right now mostly centralized around the garage area.
To see Shuttle and more than likely J90 try to make some impact here towards Piano relatively soon. The second drone moving in here more than likely so Shuttle can peek off of Rappel and try to play against that bathroom hold, which is going to be the usual spot. The DarkZero, or whoever the defender may be inside of this map, will try to cause problems for him. He gets C-Skies with the lineup here. He's got 2 mirror windows to play off of. Really just has himself the bathroom bunker here, but frag grenades are going to start to work their way in, start to tear apart at least a piece of this setup. He'll lose one of his mirror windows due to the frag grenade landing just next to that soft wall, but he still has the other one to play off of, which is the main point of concern right now. More than likely, though, Disrupt will try to put a player onto the connecting hallway to try and throw more additional pressure and eventually force out or outright kill Skies from his current position.
This round so very close right now. You can see DarkZero preparing for Disrupt's execute, but it's not even close to being done just yet. They want to try and clear as much utility on site as possible as they continue to drone out this entire area, getting rid of it accordingly. As for DarkZero, though, still waiting on that entry like we were talking about before. Disrupt mostly poised on the southwest side of the building. Multiple rappels going on right now. No one truly moving the needle when it comes down to it. They're still just simply waiting on that downstairs clear to come through. Now the damage starting to pop off though. J9's going to take a few as smokes come in. They'll need to swing in as well, and that's exactly what's about to happen. Very aggressive plays now, but can they see him? J9 with the pro shot. Mark finds one of his own. NJR gets one on the entry, and he actually keeps his life this time as well. But Mark, the caster curse, it pays off. He's down, done, and dusted, as Hyper's the only one that remains for DarkZero. The plant's going through for Retro as well, as Hyper continues to fight back. He's able to find one upstairs, but he still has to try and win out this round. It's a clutch moment for him, and DarkZero need him to grasp this.
Inside of the 1v2, not a whole lot of options going to be given to Hyper, but he does have the possibility to split this into 2 separate 1v1s. Oh no, he's not even accounting for the yellow stairs player, and that's going to be it. Retro shutting it all down for Disrupt. They'll take the 10th round and the map along with it as they continue their ascension on the rankings that seemingly come out of nowhere this week. A very impressive performance as they not only take the win yesterday, but they take the win today as well, and against DarkZero, no less, 7-3 in their favor. Congratulations to Disrupt.
You know, somebody's got to be really happy about their channel points once again. I mean, that map right there, I did not think was going to go in Disrupt's favor. Even though we saw them play quite well on Consulate yesterday, I thought DarkZero would have something, in the plans to try and deal with this team, but that's not the case at all. I mean, I believe this is the exact same scoreline that we saw from DarkZero the